Hey folks, welcome back to Grand Adventure. I'm your host, Mark Guido, and we're back out again with my buddy Bob. You may remember Bob from a couple of our episodes last year, including when we went out in the West Desert, out the Pony Express Trail in search of and finding a herd of wild horses. If you haven't seen that episode yet, it's a pretty cool one. I'll put a link right up here on the screen and you can go check it out. But in the meantime, we're down in the Moab, Utah area, right outside of Arches National Park. We're about 10 miles north of town in the entrance gate to Arches. We're gonna do some camping here and head over to Arches for some hiking, just a couple of the key arches in the park, so stay tuned. For this episode, we're camped at Dalton Wells, a popular boondocking area just north of Moab. There's little left here now to show the role that Dalton Wells played in two of the most significant events in 20th century U.S. history. During the New Deal in the 1930s, the site was the location of a Civilian Conservation Corps camp. Later, when the CCC camp was no longer in use, the site was used as a relocation camp for Japanese Americans during World War II, following a riot at California's Manzanar facility in December of 1941. The unrest began after the beating of one of the internees, Fred Tayama. Guards at the camp fired into a crowd of internees, killing two and injuring numerous others. Following the event, those internees, identified as troublemakers at Manzanar, were shipped to Dalton Wells. At its height, Dalton Wells housed 49 internees. In April of 1943, the Dalton Wells inmates were transferred to Arizona and eventually back to California, and the site at Dalton Wells is now listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Nowadays, the area surrounding Dalton Wells offers a convenient boondocking spot for campers and ATVers. Visitors need to traverse a 100-yard wide dry wash with deep sand at the entrance to Dalton Wells, so four-wheel drive is recommended. No camping is permitted along the first half mile of the road off of US 191, and many RVers congregate in large open areas just beyond that first half mile. However, the best sites are located further back in, like ours, which was along a side trail and peppered with junipers. A large slick rock just outside the camper door functioned just like a paved patio. It was, in a word, perfect. This is Utah State School Trust and sovereign land. Be forewarned that due to its proximity to Moab, Dalton Wells can be very busy on spring weekends, but we had all the space we needed during our midweek visit in late April. There are fewer campers than you'll find at nearby Willow Springs, but sites are not as dispersed as they are further north along Klondike Bluffs Road. Our campsite at Dalton Wells is only 10 miles from the entrance to Arches National Park, home to more than 2,000 natural sandstone arches. The nearly 77,000-acre park was originally named a national monument in 1929 and was redesignated as a national park in 1971. This is a very popular national park, receiving more than 1.6 million visitors in 2018. Most of the arches were formed by wind and water erosion in the salmon-colored Entrada sandstone layer that sits atop the vast, buff-colored Navajo sandstone layer that is prevalent throughout this portion of eastern Utah. Approved recreational activities within the park include auto touring, backpacking, biking, camping, and hiking, some of which require permits. Guided commercial tours and ranger programs are also available. After climbing the park road from the visitor center, the first major area of the park you'll see is Park Avenue and the Courthouse Towers area. You can walk among massive monoliths and towering walls to see views of the nearby LaSalle Mountains, topping out at over 12,000 feet. The sheer walls of this canyon reminded early visitors of buildings lining a big city street. The viewpoint is paved and accessible for people using wheelchairs, and beyond the viewpoint, a hiking trail descends steeply into the spectacular canyon and continues 1 mile to Courthouse Towers. Balanced Rock, one of the most iconic features in the park, stands a staggering 128 feet tall. The slick rock boulder of Entrada sandstone sits attached to its eroding pedestal of Dewey Bridge mudstone. Eventually, erosion will bring the 3,600-ton boulder tumbling down. In the winter of 75-76, Balanced Rock's smaller sibling, called Chip Off the Old Block, collapsed just this way. So Delicate Arch is one of Utah State's symbols. Heck, it's even appearing on our license plates. So Bob and I, we're going to go take a hike to Delicate Arch. Visiting Delicate Arch is on the top of many visitors' to-do lists. One of the most famous geologic features in the world, the light opening beneath the arch is 46 feet high and 32 feet wide, making it the largest freestanding arch in the park. You must get out of the car to view Delicate Arch. You can walk a half mile to the upper viewpoint to see the arch a mile away, but the way to see it up close and personal requires a 3-mile round-trip hike with a 480-foot elevation gain. Along this steadily uphill trail, you'll also pass the historic Wolf Ranch cabin, built by John Wesley Wolf in the early 1900s. Beyond the cabin sits a wall of Ute Indian petroglyphs dating to the 1700s. The trail to Delicate Arch has virtually no shade and some exposure to heights. On very busy days, the parking lot for the trailhead at Wolf Ranch will fill, and the trail can be very busy through much of the year. Sunset is a particularly busy time. Sometimes hundreds of people will be at Delicate Arch for sunset. So that was a fun hike. It's not terribly strenuous. It's only about 3 miles round trip. There is a bit of climbing up involved. However, the big thing that makes this a little more challenging than a lot of other hikes is that it's so hot. There is no shade anywhere along that trail up to Delicate Arch. So in the heat of the summer, or even the heat of late April like we're here, that sun is really intense and it does get really warm. Now, one really neat thing about Delicate Arch is Delicate Arch was not the original name. There's another arch in the park called Landscape Arch. And originally, that was Delicate Arch because it's very wide and very thin and very long. And what is now Delicate Arch was Landscape Arch. What ended up happening when they made the maps for the area, they got the two names switched by mistake. And the new names have stuck ever since. So we figure, while we're here, why not check out Landscape Arch too? Devil's Garden sits at the end of the National Park Scenic Drive. Here you'll find arches, spires, and a large concentration of narrow rock walls called fins, which will eventually erode and give way to the formation of arches like Landscape Arch, the objective on our hike today. The easy trail through spectacular fins to reach Landscape Arch is just under 2 miles round trip. There is no significant elevation gain, only moderate up and down hills. Those looking to add a bit of challenge may continue on to Double O Arch, beyond Landscape Arch. Landscape Arch is the longest arch in North America, with a light opening 306 feet wide. This awe-inspiring expanse is only 6 feet in diameter at its narrowest. Large segments of the arch came crashing down in the 1990s, proof that the park's landscape can change dramatically in an instant. Although other arches have fallen, Landscape Arch still hangs on by a very thin thread. Devil's Garden Campground is the only campground within Arches National Park. 51 dry campsites are reservable between March 1 and October 31 at a cost of $25 per night. During this busy season, the campground is usually full every night. Between November and February, campsites are first come, first served. Potable water is available within the campground, as are vault and flush toilets, but there are no showers and there is no dump station. Campers can dump and fill for free at the Maverick gas station on the south side of Moab. Sites include picnic tables and fire rings with grills. The desert town of Moab, named after a mountainous region in the Middle Eastern nation of Jordan, sits just a couple of miles south of the entrance to Arches National Park. Moab attracts a large number of tourists every year and serves as a popular base for mountain bikers who ride the extensive network of trails, including the Slick Rock Trail, and for off-roaders who come for the ridiculously busy annual Moab Jeep Safari held for 10 days each year around the Easter holiday. Once mining for uranium dwindled, tourism took over in the 1970s, and today Moab has perfected catering to recreational tourism. So I don't know about you, Bob, but I really enjoyed our visit to Arches this year.
I would highly recommend it to anyone who's hasn't been here in the past, Mark.
Absolutely. Surprisingly, here at the end of April, it really wasn't that busy. I expected it to be mobbed, but we really didn't have any problem getting in. Didn't have any problem finding a parking spot at a couple of the key trailheads, including, surprisingly enough, even Delicate Arch. Had plenty of free space up there too to roam around and enjoy without feeling like we were stepping all over everybody. So that was actually pretty good. We're going to stick around here in the Moab area and visit Canyonlands next week. So if you're not yet one of our grand adventurers, make sure that you hit that subscribe button down there in the corner and ring that notification bell. We air new adventure travel videos each and every Wednesday evening. So we'd be honored if you shared Grand Adventure with your friends and family. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up down below. And also, we'd love to hear from you in the comments section, also down below this video. Until next week, please remember, life is nothing but a grand adventure. We'll see you soon.
Get out and explore, folks.